know you're my life. I'm Felix, and these aren't just headlines and hit songs. These are my days, my memories. Maybe they're yours too. Let's get into 1974. Now, 74 was kind of, I don't know, an off year. Really wasn't a whole lot going on. For me personally, it was the year I started 8th grade, and I was looking towards getting the hell out of junior high because I hated it. I had not been, for lack of a better term, let off the leash yet by my dad. That would be coming next year. And I was getting picked on the regular. But I always had my music. And being in my room listening to my music, which still Superstar was, Jesus Christ Superstar, was still a big part of what I was listening to. But we did have a fad that came into being in 1974, and a song that was associated with it. Oh yeah, they call him the Streak.
Oh yes, they call him the Streak.
That's right, people started streaking, running around with no clothes off. As Ray Stevens says in the song, he came running through the cheap seats. Didn't have nothing on but his socks. So yeah, it was happening. It even happened at the Oscars.
Entertainment. And someone, quite likely...
Elton John's big hit that year was Benny and the Jets. Or, if I'm going to say it properly, Benny and the Jets. And Leonard Skinner took us to Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama.
A couple other music notes before I show you the other songs that were happening that year. ABBA, a band nobody had really heard of, won Eurovision, which is, I guess, kind of Europe's version of American Idol. And they hit the charts with Waterloo. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined a band, and that was where we got Fleetwood Mac. They weren't going to really hit their high note, so to speak, for about a year or two yet, but that was the year they got together. And here's some of the other music that was big that year.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. But sing us a song, you're the piano man. Extraordinarily nice. She's a killer queen. The cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. Billy, don't be a hero, don't be a fool with your life. You fill up my senses like a night in a forest. You baby, you're a special lady.
Now, in my last video, I talked to you about having gone to the movies and seeing The Exorcist at 12 years old. Well, this year's version of that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I did not go to see that one in the movies. I have seen it since on video, but what I did go see in the movies was Charles Bronson in Death Wish. Probably something that a 13-year-old shouldn't have been going to see, but I did. And my parents took me. On TV, we lost one of my personal favorite television series, Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Monty Python, the Flying Circus.
My mother and I used to sit up, and this was years after that, used to sit up late at night on Saturdays or Friday nights, and we would watch the reruns on PBS, and the two of us would not be able to stop laughing. Saturday morning cartoons got a little bit of a shake-up that year. We had Hong Kong Phooey.
Hong Kong Phooey, #1 super guy. Hong Kong Phooey, quicker than the human eye.
And the Shazam ISIS Hour.
In time of dire need, young Billy has been granted the power by the immortals to summon awesome forces at the utterance of a single word. Shazam!
Almighty ISIS.
Now there was one really big news story, and we're going to be talking about that at the end of the video, so stick around for it. But there was this really crazy guy who had, at this point, already broken pretty much every bone in his body, and decided he wanted to try and break any that he hadn't already done. So Evel Knievel decided he wanted to jump the Snake River Canyon. Little fact about that, he originally wanted to try and jump the Grand Canyon. And the federal government told him, But he did get approval to do the Snake River Canyon, and he failed horribly. He did not get hurt, really. Got a couple of bumps and bruises, but outside of that, but he claimed that a parachute had deployed too early, and that's why everything failed. I don't know if that's the truth. It was debated then, it's probably still debated now. Speaking of unforgettable, though, in the sports world, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman met in the Rumble in the Jungle. And that was the fight in which the term rope-a-dope was first coined. Muhammad Ali pretty much let George Foreman hit him, and hit him, and hit him, and just leaned against the ropes, covering up his head. And George Foreman got tired. And Muhammad Ali came out and started fighting, and he knocked him out. And pretty much all of that pales in comparison to the one big story that happened that year. Not long after the book, All the President's Men, came out by Woodward and Bernstein, the President of the United States resigned under pressure because of the Watergate scandal. Now, he'd lost his vice president the previous year, and I mentioned that. Spiro Agnew had been basically driven out of office because of tax evasion, and I don't know if anybody who was alive then could forget Richard Nixon coming on television and saying, effective noon tomorrow, I will resign the office of the presidency.
Of both the President and the Congress in a period when our entire focus should be on the great issues of peace abroad and prosperity without inflation at home. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
At around 12:01 the following day, Gerald R. Ford was sworn in as the new president of the United States, and by week's end, Gerald Ford had written a total and complete pardon for Richard Nixon of any crimes he'd committed. It was a blanket pardon. Some things change, some things stay the same. 1974 was kind of strange. People running around with no clothes on. And kind of fun, but it was nothing more than a kinda, except for that one big news story. But tell me in the comments what you remember. Do you remember 74 being kind of a meh year? Or was it one of the biggest years of your life? What music do you remember? What TV shows, movies? Let me know in the comments. I'm Felix Gomes, and this is the story of my life.